for the invite, Larry. I'm a tax attorney, been practicing 42 years in my own private practice. Started off at now PwC, well, then was Coopers & Lybrand in the tax department. Then left Coopers & Lybrand to be in-house tax counsel to CNS. And looking at our gallery, I think everybody here remembers CNS Banks. Mm-hmm. And then at the conclusion of when CNS merged with Nations, there were two in-house tax counsels. And the gentleman, I was in my 20s, and the gentleman who was in his 50s had families and kids in college, so I backed out and started my own firm. One of the things I've done throughout my entire lifetime was represent Cooper & Lybrand's clients before the Internal Revenue Service. And then the large corporations have year-round audits. So I was involved in the CNS continuous audit. And then my firm started as to represent taxpayers before the collection and examination divisions of Internal Revenue. And from there, I've done, I founded the tax resolution industry. Before I opened my firm, there was no one professional firm exclusively devoted to representing taxpayers before the collection and examination divisions, accommodating CPAs and firms who take work. But there was no one exclusive firm to the representation of taxpayers. What's novel about my approach was all my professional staff, from first hire to last hire, is former retired IRS. So the average experience level of my professional staff ranges between 25 and 35 years working inside the divisions of IRS. And we have a little caption on our main website that says, associated with having 100% former IRS as professional staff, we affectionately refer to it as a monopoly on competence. So that's sort of where I am professionally. And then I got into having the high ground in the industry. I got into R&D, and I created the first standalone employee benefit. It was called PTRGP, Personal Taxpayer Representation Plan, back when there were employee benefits and cafeteria plans and so forth and so on. And then when health became the only benefit, we merged that into an EAP, Employee Assistance Programs. And that really did, we had a base of 50 million Fortune 500 employees and associated companies and so forth, but there was no activity. So I went on to developed a platform called Tax Closure. Tax Closure allows John and Jane Doe to come in. Our target market is the gig economy, which right now is 2/3 of all American workers are in the gig economy. What does that really mean? It means that there's no withholding at the source. W-2 employees have withholding at the source. 1099 employees do not. IRS files a report card with Congress every year. And you look at any of the report cards, the annual report never has the percentage of estimated tax paying tax exceeded 8%. So if you do the quick, you got 2/3 of the American working public earning 1099 not non-withheld. You've got 8% making estimated tax. That leaves a huge marketplace of people that will file a tax return every year and send in a balance due tax return, most of which do not have the ability to pay. So what our service does with Tax Closure, it allows people to come into the portal and in the space of time, about 60 to 75 minutes, complete the paperwork necessary to deliver the IRS to seek a remedy. There's 3 resolutions at IRS, pretty straightforward, simple stuff: full pay, part pay, no pay. Nobody here that I'm talking to today, and nobody that you know, realizes that IRS has a resolution to not pay your taxes. You didn't know that. Nobody knows that. So what is amazing from my position of having done this for 42 years is that 90% of America qualifies for a government authorized zero pay plan. And that's the benefit of coming through our portal, through our system, Tax Closure, is it allows people to go get their tax returns prepared, we're doing work with, the obvious ones like Lyft, the Ubers, Uber Eats, all the 1090 huge, large volume 1099 groups, and we're rolling tax closure out as a benefit. And there's other groups that we're bringing the benefit through an affiliate endorsing affiliate basis on a commissionized basis. So there's monetization at all levels of our rolling this out. And we're also doing exactly what State Farm did when Sears, in the beginning of Sears, and all of us were not too far away from, Sears. We all remember Sears. Sears always had a State Farm insurance office somewhere in it. So we're getting into tax preparation stores and putting a desk in for tax closure so that when the non-refund returns get prepared, then the tax preparers just say, well, you're going to owe, $2,500, $17,000, $38,000, whatever the number is, walk them over to the tax closure desk. And then rather than them sending in a check, they can send now in a form. And IRS will provide them a very reasonable pay plan or will waive collection. That's what a government authorized zero pay plan is the waiver of having to pay. When you send in a form and IRS agrees to what's called currently not collectible is their terminology, it's where IRS agrees to make no further effort to collect and you, the taxpayer, are under no obligation to pay. So this is something, again, new to the marketplace. I started this in a beta way in 2010, 11, 12, and then I merged into another opportunity called tax status. We're becoming the FICO report of compliance. Our first contract, Brad, who's on the call, got us into Equifax. When they realized we sat around talking to the executives that little do the banks know, the lenders know that if a company or an individual gets a federal tax lien and any lender has a UCC1 perfected security interest and a federal tax lien is filed, unbeknownst to them, they're in second position. So there was no mechanism to alert the lending community that they no longer have first position. They now enjoy second position, although the UCC1 allowed them to rely on first position. That's just not the case in the reality of federal tax liens. So through Brad, God bless him, he got us into Equifax and FIS, Fidelity Information System, which is I think a Fortune 300 company. And through that, we've brought on hundreds of banks and lending institutions and so forth, and we're having fun with that. And so once the tax status report was well seated in the marketplace, I went back, pulled tax closure off the shelf, and completely renovated it and made it state of the art. It's if anybody's ever done a TurboTax, we've designed it so that when you don't have the ability to pay or to create very much a hardship to pay, whatever the outcome of your tax return is, you fill out one form, you fill out the 1040, well, you fill out one more form, it's called 433A, and then what tax closure does is it takes them red carpet through the form and explains that it has a video for every line on the form. The video explains three things, every line. It says, why is IRS asking this question? What is IRS going to do with my answer? And what are my taxpayer rights with respect to the presentation of my financial condition and ability to pay? When you're armed with that information and you use it, the funny thing about taxpayer rights is if you don't know them, you can't use them. And if you don't use them, you lose them. I'm allowing the American public to gain access to their taxpayer rights, make use of them. And in many cases, rather than the 1099 gig economy sending a check to the IRS, they simply send a second form and they're relieved of payment. And I think we're doing a good job. There's 100 million people that owe the IRS money. I'd like to think with enough support and a little more financial backing, we'll make a big dent in the marketplace. I think that's an overview. Would anybody have any questions?
David, you're on mute. unmute yourself, David.
I thought that was your wish. A good presentation and much needed. Would you share with us on the in-call message your website and your email address?
Absolutely. The website is taxclosure, taxclosure.org.
Yeah, could you put it into the message center so we can copy and paste, and you don't have to spell it for us?
Larry, if you'll do that. I don't know that Larry White is our fractional CFO, and I've really enjoyed working with Larry.
He's not fractal at all.
Part-time.
He's got a great sense of humor, though.
So for
Charles, you might want to touch on the financial side as far as you don't really have a competitor, but the nearest competitor, what their charge is, and then what you're leading out in the market with.
Yeah, if anybody seeks assistance in helping with getting a resolution with the IRS when they can't full pay, I mean, nobody has the knowledge, ability, or training. There's nowhere in any educational, academically, anywhere at any level to explain taxpayer rights and how to accomplish getting a part pay or a no pay. So if you go out into the community that I pioneered back in 1983, the lowest entry level for professional assistance is $4,000 that I found. And that's mostly the 800 people banging the pan on television. Tax closure, we're offering it one size fits all for $1,000. So we're 25% of our next nearest competitor. And I would tell you, if you look into it 5 minutes or more, any one of what you would see as our competitors have literally hundreds. I think Optum was up to thousands of complaints and problems. And I've operated my professional firm for 42 years and have never had a complaint.
Wow.
So I think there's a differentiation worth mention to. We know what we're doing. We do it better than anybody else. And the best in this instance, gentlemen, costs less.
I'm going to make some comments as the fractional CFO in a second, but Brad, can you introduce yourself to the group?
Sure.
And sort of what your thought of tax closure is, and then I'm going to comment on what I've discovered in my humble career with tax closure, which blows my mind.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm the CEO of a company here in Atlanta called the Metropolitan Companies, but I also invest in fintech and AI companies. So Charles's first company, not his first company, but the first one that he went outside of his normal realm with was tax
Status.
And I helped with that both financially, and then also I use a word called relationship capital. Sometimes the people you know and the accounts you take people into are worth more than the money that you would invest in them. So I tell you how I met Charles. To start with, the whole thing was a younger inner city guy, a kid really in his 20s, worked for me, and he owed $20,000 in taxes. And my CFO knew of Tom, and he said he can help him out for, back then it was $1,500. Well, I wouldn't pay the $20,000 for the person, but I said, I'll pay the 15 just to know if this is real. This was a couple of years ago. And he said, you want to go to the meeting? I said, no, I want to go to the meeting when you get something back from the IRS that says you don't owe him any more damn money. And that's what happened. So he was cleared of, he got resolution with the IRS. And that's when I came to meet Charles. And since then, I've also brought him a couple of billionaires that one he saved $5 million, another one he saved $1 million on some issues that they had. So I'm not from Oklahoma. I think those are the people that say show me state or whatever they are. I'm an Atlanta native. But that's how I got into it. Another thing that intrigued me very much is that Tom he won't tell you this, but he's on the board in Washington of the IRS roundtable that he goes up and meets with the commissioners and those type people. So he has, and he's hired over 1,000 IRS employees. After they retire, they come to work for him in one of his other companies as well. So the knowledge he has I guess one day it really hit me, because I do a lot in the financial side, credit card side, but it hit me when he explained to me that the IRS, well, he tries to tell me they're nice people. I still haven't 100% bought in on that, but he believes that wholeheartedly. I run from him. But when he explained that it's two different divisions, and the division is collections. Well, I understand collections, and that means they're trying to collect. They're going to make a deal, and I had no idea that was part of it. That they need to. The IRS needs to have closure as much as tax closure wants to give closure. So proof is in the pudding. I've seen it work. From low level people with $20,000 to billionaires. So it's kind of a amazing thing, and that's one of the guys actually invested in one of his companies after Tom saved him $1 million. So actually invested in the company, then you saved him the $1 million, I think is how that went. But so no, it's real. It works. It's just, got to get it out in the marketplace, and we're having some good success. We're excited about a couple of things that just doors that opened up for us, and so yeah, and I love these type of groups where everybody's got different things and what they bring to it. So I appreciate, Larry, you letting me come on, because probably some areas I can help some of the people with as well.
Well, one of the things, Brad, that we want to get together with you is Todd, his background is cybersecurity as is mine. And we've got what I think is one of the best democratization platforms in the world that we're trying to launch. And so I certainly look forward to reviewing that with you.
Yeah.
Back to Charles, fill the group in on where we stand with Lyft and what your strategy is there.
100% of the worker community is 1099. And again, if you graciously give them 8% of their 2 million workers are making estimated tax, which is illusory at best, then you've got a large number that will prepare a tax return, file a tax return, and cumulatively, year after year after year, pyramid their tax liabilities. Well, with us becoming an employee benefit, and they have a couple of benefits. They've got to deal with H&R Block, that if you're a Lyft driver, you get $100 or $150 off the preparation of your tax return. We're offering the Lyft drivers $100 off our $1,000, our purchase price of $1,000. So all these people are people in need, and by virtue of the fact that we have no competition, we're really hoping to Lyft and Lyft lookalikes, 80 million taxpayers that are Lyft lookalikes. We're going to make a substantial benefit to the IRS in getting them resolved cases, agreed cases, and the stress associated with owing the IRS. There's nobody here that if they don't get a letter from the IRS gets a chill. Okay, well, I'm going to take the chill away. And people have so far, I've had children named after me. I mean,
Wow.
That sort of relief.
Yeah. In this pursuit, and a good founded pursuit of our own individual freedom, what is the biggest surprise you've had? You're not in a normal tech world, matter or pursuit or cause. So what's been the biggest surprise you had in this endeavor so far?
Well, as someone who's come through the academic environment, CPA, tax attorney, JD degree from Emory, LLM, Emory, so forth and so on, everything is evolving, changing, get new Congress, get new laws. They're taxing it this way, they're relieving it that way, but they're hidden. It's just a dynamic process, this Internal Revenue Code. What's still astounding to me is that the Internal Procedure Manual for Collection Division is bedrock and hasn't changed in the 42 years I've been practicing.
Wow.
And yet everybody thinks of IRS, well, new Congress, new laws, and that's all true. But I'm sort of at a subterranean level with my practice. And when you become extremely intimate and competent with the subject matter, the only thing I can say is, anybody can walk on water if you know where the stones are. And in this subject matter, I know where all the stones are.
Wise. Thank you.
Other questions of Charles? Charles, anything else you want to say, or Brad, anything else you want to say while you've got this group?
I'm just excited about helping America. I mean, the sales teams we have out there, this thing sells itself. The employers, you think about it, the employers have shifted the weight of the cost of employees from W-2 them, heavyweight, to light going worker light and shifting the tax burden to the 1099s because the employers don't have to match Social Security. You do the math, especially Fortune 500, they're huge numbers. And so now they've found a way, and they've accomplished shifting all this weight of tax responsibility over to 2/3 of the American workers. And so with my sales teams, when they go out to these big organizations, they have somewhat of a guilty conscience. I mean, millions of workers like Lyft, they know what they've done. They know they've shifted this burden, so they make more money, and they shifted the burden. So when we're coming in with what we call the halo effect, yes, Lyft and lookalikes have shifted the tax burden and Social Security costs and so forth and so on to the 1099 workers. But here they're coming and saying, you know, although we've done this for our own economic benefit and advantage, we're going to also help you deal with it successfully. And when you think of 9 out of 10 of their workers are going to be relieved of the obligation to pay the tax shown on their tax return. We have one thing that I would say, and I've never experienced this or even read it, but everybody we approach, Brad's my CMO right now, acting CMO, is we've had nobody say no. We've walked into no meeting, no matter what, C-level, CEO, partner, the head of partnerships, corporate partnerships, nobody has said no. There's zero pushback. And that to me is astounding.
Well done.
And by the way, the payment to
$100. We're giving $100 off to the employee.
Yeah.
So they have a $100 off coupon. And then we give $100 of the $900 to the affiliate or the employer. And yeah, when Larry mentions this, my sales people are using the term, it's found money. And so whoever we're doing the head of partner relations or the CEO or whoever we're dealing with comes away when they bring it in for approval, coming in the hero. We found, you know, $3-4 extra million costs them nothing.
Yeah, it's amazing.